top story now. In the midst of the coronavirus crisis, the 18-day monsoon session of the Parliament has begun today. This session will be marked by many firsts this time. The entire premises has been sanitized just before the session began. Over 4,000 people, including MPs and staff, have been tested for COVID-19. The first of its kind monsoon session will see the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha members sitting in two different shifts. Both galleries and chambers will be used for special seating arrangements in line with social distancing measures. Except on the first day, the Lok Sabha will convene in morning shift from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m, while the Rajya Sabha in evening shift from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. In between the two shifts, the entire complex will be sanitized. Entry in the premises will be allowed only on production of a COVID-19 negative report, with the test being conducted not more than 72 hours before the start of the session. Frisking of people will also make way for touchless security scanning. Frequent sanitization of the entire Parliament complex will also be carried out. Arrangements have been made to sanitize various parliamentary papers as well as footwear and cars of MPs. And now for more on this, we are being joined by our political editor, Karthike Sharma. Karthike, thank you so much for joining us. My first question to you is, Parliament's monsoon session this time is marked by many firsts. This, of course, takes place in the backdrop of a still raging coronavirus pandemic. Could you tell us a little bit about the measures in place for the same, and how do you think this will affect the functioning of Parliament session?
See, extraordinary arrangements have been put into place in the Indian Parliament. For example, for the first time, if I would remember, in last 30 years, the video cameras and the cameras are not being allowed. Or for example, in context of the coverage, if I may have to elucidate on that point, the coverage has been restricted to the proceedings of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Even the mobile phones are not being allowed inside Parliament, though it was relaxed after 2005. So, in context of the coverage of the proceedings of both houses, which is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, you are entirely dependent on the Rajya Sabha TV and Lok Sabha TV. Even the MPs who are more than 65 have been advised to stay put at home. Even the sitting arrangement is such that only 1/3 to 25% of MPs can be seated at a particular point of time. For example, today, when a person had to enter the Parliament for the coverage, they had to be in Parliament at 7:30 a.m. in morning to collect the pass at 8 a.m. so that they could be seated by 9 a.m. And even before the Parliament or the Lok Sabha ends, most of the people who are covering it or the MPs who are there, they would be requested to move outside the Parliament, so that those who are part of Rajya Sabha and Rajya Sabha security, the sanitizing apparatus, they would be moved in. Such is the level of social distancing and segregation, which includes MPs, which includes former lawmakers also, because they are entitled to go to the central hall of the Parliament, and those who cover it. So there will be a second shift. So the Parliament has been completely divided into two shifts, so that the interaction is minimum between people. And in terms of entry, Arogya Setu has become mandatory. As you rightly pointed out, yes, there will be no frisking. There are special arrangements to see whether the person who is entering the premise of the Parliament is secure in context of the guidelines, and also to ensure that he is healthy. Most of the people who are inside Parliament today, their tests have been taken. So in case anyone who is inside Parliament was tested 3 days back, 4 days back, Rajya Sabha Secretariat staff, Lok Sabha Secretariat staff, the journalists, the lawmakers, anyone associated with Parliament was tested to ensure that they're COVID-19 negative. So it's unprecedented and extraordinary measures which have been put into place, so that it does not create further problem for the lawmakers, or the disease or this pathogen does not spread. It is for this number of things that are not happening in the Parliament. So, for example, you have this 0 hour where people can get up and ask questions. That is not taking place. And reason is very, very simple, though it was done in a lot of assemblies, but it became controversial in Delhi, and that being, if a minister has to answer an impromptu question, then the secretarial staff has to be there. So none of the secretarial staff of the minister will be allowed. So what they have done, the Parliament, the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, is to reduce the staff, the people who cover it, the people who attend it, by 75%. That has been the impact of COVID-19, the functioning of the most important institution of this country.
And what do you think are the likely issues to be taken up in this session of the Parliament?
There are two most important issues, though there are 11 ordinances There are 45 bills which need to be passed. It's a very short duration parliament, 2 weeks. The parliament will also for the first time function on Saturday and Sunday so that a maximum can be made of the time which is available. But what people are actually looking forward to is the debate on what has happened on the line of actual control, which is Ladakh. In that debate, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and the Foreign Minister are expected to speak, though it is not known whether the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to intervene in the debate, but both Foreign Minister and the Defence Minister are going to get up and speak in both the houses. So that's the most important part of the Parliament, because in the House everything has to be correct to the last detail. Because I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties, because there is something called if the detail is not correct, then there is a clause of contempt in the Parliament. So whatever is said in Parliament is completely right to the dot. So that's the most important thing. And the second debate which people are looking forward to is on the economy and the sort of effect the stimulus has done. So I think these are the two most important debates which will take place in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, apart from 11 ordinances and 45 important bills.
All right. Karthike, thank you so much for all those details. We will definitely keep tracking this closely. Thank you.